you know what's happening officially. So the questions that the elected councillors and myself put together, they are still between the solicitors. I've not received any form of update. I have chased it, however, and I will continue to chase it. So it was more out of courtesy for council to officially update everybody on that.
So they're going to need to. It's been about 5 weeks.
I chased it. I was off last week and I chased it just before then, and I chased it again this week and not heard anything. I don't know if they're going through a busy period. They're usually a lot more responsive, to be honest. Not Wakefield, our sisters.
Really?
Just for clarity.
Yeah.
So I will keep chasing that and I'll keep bringing it back, but I was just conscious of the period of time that passed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that update. So yeah, that's just to receive one way, so that's fine. Item 32. To review a previous request, considering for approval the lease of a small section of land at Ackworth Cemetery to the neighbouring business. We've got some reasonably comprehensive things submitted by that resident in relation to it.
Do you or I want to do a quick overview? Because I think some councils wasn't on council when this first came through.
Yeah, do you want to do
Yeah,
that?
that's okay.
I can do, but you
No,
probably
fine.
know more because you've
No,
been
it's
involved
fine.
in this
Just
discussion.
if there's anything just add it. So we are talking about where the cemetery is, and we're talking about the commercial building next door, which we all know is Fairways Garage. The owner of Fairways came to us probably about 18 months ago, I think. Is it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's quite a while ago.
To ask to start explore potentially a section of the triangle that's currently it's land basically. It's got some bits of trees and foliage, but none of the core trees are in this section. That's going to be worth mentioning. And there was a question obviously around whether we would sell it initially. Council reviewed it and it was decided that we wouldn't sell it. Council said that we may consider leasing it, so there's been a lot of backwards and forwards with the owner of the building to see if that's a viable option for him, and that would be all at cost of the owner of the garage. That is putting it into 4 parking spaces, and the plan is to use it as staff parking. With the aim basically, if you imagine the small stretch of pavement from where this section is to our cemetery, you can fit like 4 cars on that part of the car park. That's where his staff currently park. So what he's saying is he could potentially take those vehicles off the road and put them into that section. However, it's a busy garage. It may not be that those 4 cars are replaced with customer cars. I don't know, but that's what he's referred to. He has said that he is happy to lease it as long as it's a long-term lease. Given the low Ackworth lease that we're currently debating around the 30-40 year mark is what we've mentioned to him if that's what he would be interested in, and he said yes. We've explained that all solicitors' costs would be his to own, and all maintenance and efforts to put that land into a car park area. We have spoken to him, so when I say we, I'm speaking about John Ball and myself, because that's who was delegated to go and speak to him. We have said that it wouldn't necessarily be a permanent structure as such, and he's on about putting in a retainer and then putting in, I think he said chip-ins, which is why I was really hoping John might be here to explain it better. And then we'd be happy to put some more trees in and some planters and bits and pieces. So everything that you see there is at his cost, and then I've included in the supporting notes different bits and pieces that I've done. So I've provided the council proof of ownership, and I've also popped in here the proof that there's no legal right of way, because I know Councillor Parker had previously mentioned that, so all those checks have been done. And for transparency, I've made the business owner aware and council of the cost of the quote to draw the lease of £1,500 per square metre, which will be passed on to the business owner. I think that's about as much.
Okay, yeah, no, I think so. That's great. Thanks, Gemma. The only thought I had in relation to it is that if we approve it, I think the first thing we ought to do is get a signature, approve it from them, a pre-contract contract to make sure that they know they're committed to all the costs.
That would be in the official lease contract with the solicitors.
I suppose I'm sort of thinking that if we incur 1,500 with the solicitor,
yeah.
and then the guy says, "Oh no, I don't want to do it," we need to have something that
Hold you to that.
officially holds him to already paying that, even if he then says no,
Yeah, I understand it.
is all I was thinking.
I was, personally, it's one of our main incomes in cemetery.
Mm.
And if 30 years later that cemetery is filling up pretty quick, I'm against it personally. I think we should keep the land away.
Can I comment?
Yes, certainly,
Yeah.
if you comment.
We would never use that section to bury. It's right up at the edge. We don't go that far to the boundary, and we've probably got about 80 years left in our cemetery.
I'd say when I've looked at it, that bit is already raised up above the level of the rest of the cemetery anyway, I think, isn't it? Pretty much. Ian?
Yeah,
I'm not dismissing Sean at all.
Yeah, we're getting I think it's a concrete fence as well, isn't it? Steel posts and a concrete fence.
That's what it implies, yeah.
It looks nice at the top of that field as it is now with trees in that specific area where they want to go with a few shrubs and trees. And when you think of the amount of traffic we're going after, we need all the green that we can for well-being.
I think it's going to be a concrete wall and then a bush to hide.
It does propose a laurel hedge planted along it to hide that, so hopefully.
And what happens if the guy went bust? Would he put it back to its original status?
Well, that's something that could be included in the lease, I suppose,
It
isn't
needs
it?
to make sure it goes back to its
In
original
terms of-
status.
Yeah. And the lease would include something about what happens if somebody ends the lease early, which effectively.
I think it definitely needs to go back to its
Yeah,
original status.
yeah, it's certainly something we could incorporate, consider incorporating, isn't it? Lynn?
I think that anything that moves any of the traffic from that particular road is probably a good idea because it's really congested down there with the park and stuff. And also, it's income from a bit of ground that Nick are not using.
It's an easy way to.
Sorry, Amanda? Yeah.
I was going to say it's an easy way to generate some income, isn't it,
Yeah.
on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Assuming with the lease that he does in fact do the planting that he said,
Yeah.
because I agree that a concrete wall is probably not very desirable.
No.
And it needs to go back to its original status after the lease.
Can I just add to
Yeah.
that? There are already some trees there. He's offering to thicken it up,
Yeah.
but I agree.
Yeah. Ian?
So Sam, I'm probably in favour of it, but I just can't believe he's going to spend all that money and he's willing to do that, and it just makes me nervous that there's something we're missing here somewhere.
I think that's why I want to make sure that at least cover the cost.
And there's no question around, does this need to go to planning?
There will be elements of that.
So
we need to
local
explore. So
residents
this
will
will
get
be-
a say on it.
Yeah, so this is more sort of an agreement in principle, and then we have to move forward to the other steps. Yeah.
I feel it's not just staff cars as well, it's seeing bigger vehicles parked and
Yeah, we got
It's still traffic on
it's like anything you've got to prove parking what they actually park there compared to anything else. I think as long as it's very clear, my own view would be as long as it's very clear it's only parking and they can have to extend the garage workings to
Would it be advisable to put a notice in the cemetery to advise the people who, the residents who are using that area that this has been proposed? They're paying quite a lot of money out for something and they might not approve of a business coming into that corner. Don't know. If that's done,
sorry.
Planning notices.
Yeah, we'd have to have plan. That's where planning would come in, I think, isn't it, on that basis. I think planning would
probably
probably.
be noticed beforehand.
Yeah, just the courtesy of
See
the
what
lightness in
people
terms
think
of
of
it.
it.
Yeah, that's it. We get some comments and then maybe we'll come up with a proposal. Sharon?
I've got reservations both sides really. I think I'm with Ian on the. It's a funny shaped piece of land just to park your cars on because you're not actually going to get. I mean, we need a better map really. Because I can't quite understand why there's a proposed gate post there and what that. I'm not a map person. And what that line is down there.
It's
The
definitely
shape of
easier
it.
to see it in person.
Yeah.
It makes sense in person.
I agree completely with Caroline about the getting the parking off the road. you really could do with getting the lorries off the road and the house boxes off the road, that having to park on there, and then they're coming round fast on that bend where Fred's crossing, that crossing needs to go. You know, there's a lot to consider, I think. I get it,
Yeah.
but I don't know,
Can we-
I'm not sure.
Must admit, I was aiming to get there to have another look, but I didn't have a chance.
I think I'd quite like to see, go down and have a proper look with somebody who knows what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and what the shape of the land looks like.
As a proposal, we could defer it to amenities that would then have to come back to us and give us a chance to go and have a look if we wanted to.
You could defer it as a site visit
Yeah.
to instruct
Yeah.
amenities to
Because actually, why isn't it asking for it to be squared off? To become a wreck? I know, but I'm just saying, you know, then you
I
get
mean,
more.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it's because there's sort of a bit of a natural line there.
It's the tree line, it's
Yeah.
very established
Stephen?
trees.
Yeah, very
But isn't it taking the tree out?
Not those ones.
No.
Alright, okay.
No, I think that's it. There's a weird corner that looks like, always looks just like it's got things put in it.
There's some smaller areas that would have to be removed, but none of them are trees.
Yeah, they're kind of just things that have grown, I think.
So that line, that diagonal line, is that there now?
Sorry, which one?
That one there, Andy?
I'm not.
What's that? Because it looks like
I
a
think
square in
I
between
think,
eight-
and that's what I said. I
eight-
didn't have a chance to look. I think that's kind of an entrance exit to it. Yeah, if you.
There's an old mouth of the road, it's a curve, it's a low level curve line.
There.
Yeah.
So
So
then
there's
it's
an old
proposing that
mouth.
it comes, it squares it off.
Yeah, so that would be part of the common application to Ackworth, but the mouth of the road, the flat curve is not in use anymore. It must have been from many, many years ago when Stephen mentioned that it was a walkway,
Yeah.
and that's why we checked the public right of way.
Can I propose that we delegate to the Ministers Committee for it to go to that site visit?
Yeah.
For a site visit?
Yeah, that's fine. Is there a second bit for Amanda? Yeah.
It looks like back in the garage here.
Yeah.
It looks like he wants access to back of the garage here, but I believe there's a road, an existing road, down that he could access this area in any case.
There is a road.
There's no access on this that is proposing.
No, but you know,
No,
you know where he parks his vehicle, he gets the back of his garage.
Mm-hmm.
But he could get the back of his garage from there, I think there's an
there
existing
is a, yeah.
To
there is-
access this,
Yeah.
this is what you're referring to.
Well, whichever that, it looks like he wanted to access back of the garage in there.
There is a, looking at that one, there is a pathway sort of behind it potentially.
He already owns part of that and can access that way. It naturally, I think it's just a drawing, it just naturally comes to a corner, you wouldn't be able to get a car around that.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's a
Site
drawing version.
perspective,
It is, I mean, John and I was there, Chair, and it didn't
Yeah.
make sense what we were saying,
Yeah.
which is a shame that John's not here today.
No, we've got a proposal to defer it to amenities for a site visit potentially that will bring it back to us for clarification. So, and we've got a second for that, haven't we? So,
Yeah,
votes?
sorry, Mr. Chair, before you
Sorry.
move, one thing that has just dawned on me was
Yeah.
something that you might want to delegate is we haven't, as a council, looked at what cost would be that would be leasing at any point through
Yeah.
this process, so that might be something for amenities actually to also
Yeah,
consider
a consideration of potentially.
how much the
Yeah.
lease would cost the landowner.
Would the solicitor not have a say on that?
May well, but we've not instructed anyone to do that yet,
Yeah.
so it would have to
Yeah,
come from council.
yeah,
So we could do a delegate to amenities based on the site visit needed and
and
cost analysis.
costs, yeah.
That's the process.
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm
that's
saying.
I'm just trying to think how I could then incorporate the thing that I said about getting approval beforehand from him for any of these costs.
That
So
would come
can
back
come
to the
later,
council.
can't it?
So before we vote, there's no time constraints on this either, so it's not pushing for anything. I just think we delegate.
It's been going on for a long
No,
time,
that's
so
fine.
hopefully another month wouldn't make too much difference, yeah. Okay, shall we vote on
I'm
that?
happy with that.
Yeah. Those in favour of delegating it to amenities? That's everybody. Great, thank you.
Excuse me, good night.
Thanks, Eric. Right, so item 33, motions requested by councillors. So 33.1 is to receive a proposal from Councillor Roberts to begin delegated authority by Council to progress the lease agreement of Low Ackworth Playing Fields, Car Park and Play Area, currently under review between Wakefield District Council and Ackworth Parish, as and where required, in his capacity as both Chair to Ackworth Parish Council and Northern District Councillor.
So that would have to be deferred. Chair.
Yes,
Yeah.
So do we need a proposer to defer it?
It's just an all in favour though. In fact, yeah, let's do it properly just to make sure.
Well, we've got Nathan and Sean for proposing a seconder. And those in favour of deferring?
Deferring a lot with me, not we?
Well, I think that's probably the interim chair. You can defer it to somebody else, isn't it? Yeah. 33.2, a proposal from Councillor Hall that the Parish Council should investigate the feasibility and associated costs of improving security at Carbridge playing fields.
Following the recent visit by travellers, and this is the second one we had, we know that those playing fields aren't secure. The sort of, if you go three sides, the grade, then this side there's that gate, and then there's a hedge, but there's nothing behind the hedge, there's no fence or
And there's
anything.
holes in it.
And there's holes in it, yes, there's holes in it. So I think all down that edge is actually vulnerable. Now the reason I said explore the feasibility is because of the cost. I don't know who owns it. Oh, that's it. I wasn't sure if it was Ackworth School.
Sorry, it's the school though, Ackworth.
Yeah. Although doesn't the footpath that's at this end of it, isn't that Wakefield?
That bit between
Is it,
the curve and the field.
Yeah.
Because a little bit, you know where the building,
Yes.
the fence round, that comes
Yeah.
under it, and the footpath, there's a public footpath, but the land is still owned by the school. And Wakefield Council do a maintenance contract to quit it, and that's where that
right.
So does that mean we could do something about security on it, or would we be able to ask the school?
could just the school.
Yeah.
However, the school do put cost on us for any maintenance on the building.
So it might be worth putting some suggestions forward to the school, because if that happened, first of all, I'm sure they'd be equipped for WhatsApp group where they share places that they can go. And also, in the day before the gala or something, not to mention the distress to people who come down the kids to the parks.
It caused a lot of distress in the
Did,
Facebook groups.
yeah.
Could I just talk over
Yeah,
about this? So one of my concerns this time round is the police support. So only for the fact that I was literally relentless every couple of hours ringing the police because the reports were coming in to me. Was there any police presence at all? So what had been happening was we'd logged it all and we'd logged the criminal damage immediately upon arrival because our caretaker was actually on the field and literally checked the lock on the gate, walked, checked the playground and turned and they were entering. So although we didn't see who put the lock, we know the lock was intact within 5 minutes. So we reported the criminal damage immediately there and then, and we also reported a public order because they were aggressive immediately, unfortunately. I was led to believe that that would be enough to raise the Section 6. However, what happened is some weird sort of loop this time round where, and I've got proof of it, is that the police were saying that because we were the victims of the crime, that the residents had to report the crimes to us to collate. And then when I would speak to the police, they would say, you've not had enough reports. So I was on this just cycle of unhelpfulness. And I know that's not this agenda item, it might be something that we bring to the next meeting. But the reason why I'm bringing it up now is if it was to happen again, I don't have the confidence in the process of the Section 60.
I think it's very relevant.
When people were being verbally assaulted basically and garden furniture was literally being stolen out of the gardens and being sat on and nothing was being done. It was this time round was really frustrating.
Sean?
It's like Ackworth just said. The guy said to me, if you park your car and feel I started doing donuts under the edge, they'd arrest you and concentrate ripples, but the police didn't act on it.
Amanda?
I think it's definitely a cost worth bearing in terms of how much you used to get from that field to the village. It impacts sports and everybody's sort of leisure time.
Absolutely.
So I don't think you get much argument from people about some expenditure.
From what we gather, we were lucky because the football wasn't that weekend or something from some
It was rugby, wasn't it? That actually there was a game in progress
Yeah.
when they
Yeah, oh,
got to
yeah,
the field
yeah, I
and
know,
they drove
yeah.
straight through.
Yeah, we went there,
Yeah.
Ian?
So just, I'm totally in favour of this, but just but we concentrate on what we know and not what we don't know. So are there other areas that are vulnerable in the village that we're not concentrating on with this? And do we need to do a wider review or just,
Yeah.
especially like Ackworth and things like that? I don't know.
Well, sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
May I cut out?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
One of the things that I did proactively, whether I shouldn't have, is we've been told by members of the strata community that there were people trying the barrier on the strata community centre. Now we obviously don't own that, but we've got the gate is our asset. The person that reported it came to the office and spoke to me and actually had followed the person that was doing it back to Car Bridge and watched them re-enter the site, so obviously they did know that they were part of the same group. So I went up and put one of the spare allotments locks on the gate to obviously stop that from happening. So in answer to your question, yes, but we don't technically own that land. But I knew that if they were to go up there, Strata wouldn't have the same response that what we had.
Because there's all the, I can't remember if there are parts, but all the green mandate structure as well, isn't there, that potentially they could use. I'll come back to see if anybody else has got a comment. Sean, please.
Like Andy says, when we went down, I'd have put it straight away like you did, Jim, got a place crime, but they drove through the match that was actually playing,
Yeah.
and the lads were really distressed, weren't they?
Apparently they actually just drove, they were playing on the pitch and drove them through the middle of where they were playing.
And then I got a phone call to somebody that lives there. He says, can you phone police again? Because they're driving around donutting and moving children up the pitch. Not doing this, disgraceful. But one thing police did do, is I was talking to that police when they were moving them, they put a police car up at Strat, I don't know whether you know, Jimmy.
Yeah, I
And they
did.
stopped them accessing.
It's because I
They didn't,
reported it.
didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I reported it.
Yeah.
Police didn't actually remove them. That's
No,
not.
they didn't
yeah.
move them, did they?
No,
That's
it
what he
was
said.
actually myself and
Yeah.